We're studying the laws of holiness. And we conclude today oops, where's Rambam? There's Rambam. Okay. We conclude today laws of illicit relations, and we begin laws of forbidden foods. But that we'll pick up afterwards. Okay, chapter 21. Whoever shares physical intimacy with one of the arayos means a forbidden relationship, right? Forbidden relationship, like like uh, like a married woman, right? Without actually becoming involved in a sexual relations, right? Or embraces and kisses one of them out of desire and derives pleasure for the physical contact should be lashed according to scriptural law. This is derived from the verse. She says to refrain from performing any of these abominable practices, which states do not draw close to reveal nakedness. Implied is forbidden to draw close to acts that lead to revealed nakedness, right? So anything that brings you close. So if you're hugging another woman, a man hugs another woman with the desire to have pleasure from it, right? That person should be lashed according to biblical law. That's pretty strong, right? Because it could lead, but the act itself is prohibited. It's not only because it leads. The act itself, right? The act itself is, in other words, to have physical pleasure from a man having physical pleasure from another woman is a forbidden act. We're going to see it gets very, it gets more than that. Let's see. Okay. A person who engages in any kind of above mentioned practices is considered likely to engage in forbidden sexual relations. So it will lead to it, but the act itself is forbidden. It is forbidden for a person to make motions with his hands and his feet or to wink with his eyes to any one of those arayas, right? To share mirth with her or to act frivolously with her. It is even forbidden to smell her perfume or to gaze at her beauty. A person who performs any of these actions intentionally should be given stripes for rebellious conduct. So this is already rabbinic law. Before it was, right, because it was an actual embrace. You actually embrace somebody to have the pleasure of them, right? That's biblical law. This is rabbinic law, that even to gaze upon a person for their beauty, you should get stripes rabbinically for that, right? Yes. Yeah, a person who looks at even a small finger of a woman with the intent of devouring pleasure is considered as if he looked at her genitalia. It is even forbidden to hear the voice of a woman, forbidden as an erva, or to look at her hair, right? I mean, you can look at it. We're talking about looking at it for the intent to have pleasure from her, right? If everybody in this world did this, what a better world we would have. Can you imagine that you don't look at another woman for your own pleasure? Can you imagine what that means to respect another human being? You respect them for who they are, but not for the pleasure they give you. This alone saves the world, brings Mashiach. It's unreal. It's unreal. And this is a commitment because it's not an easy thing, because we're pleasure driven, right? Our animal soul wants to derive pleasure. This is real work to be able to not to succumb to this, right? And we all succumb on some measure of it, that the thought is entertained a second too long, that rather than pushing it out, right? Um, but this is something that the Talmud, the sages say in the Talmud, are things that we're not saved from. Every day there will be a challenge, right?
Difference between a gaze and a glance.
Now, there's a difference that you're looking at a person and you're looking at them not to seek the pleasure. Doesn't mean you can't look at them.
Glance.
Again, whatever words, I don't know what the words, we're talking, it's the content over here that's important. If you're looking at that person so you can have the pleasure of her, that's what we're talking about. Whether it's a glance, whether it's a gaze, whatever it is, doesn't make a difference. Doesn't matter if it's for a moment or if it's for an hour. Obviously, the longer it is, just the worse it is. But in the prohibition of it, there's no difference, right? The pleasure is the pleasure, whether it's for a minute, for 2 seconds, right? This is just unreal, unreal.
Is that why we have tzitzis? One reason?
To remind us, yeah, not to go straight, that our eye shouldn't go astray. Exactly. We say that in tzitzis. Tomorrow's Chumash Rashi. Tzitzis. Yeah. Number 3, these matters are also forbidden with regard to a woman with whom relations are forbidden on the basis of merely a negative commandment. As we were till now, we were speaking about it's called an erva, meaning a forbidden relationship. Now, this is because of a forbidden negative commandment, not because of the relation. Well, let's see. It's permitted to look at the face of. Oh, okay. Just same thing. Okay. Now, look at this. It's permitted to look at the face of an unmarried woman and to examine her features, whether she is a virgin or she is engaged in relations previously, to see whether she's attractive in his eyes so that he may marry her. So for the sake of marriage, yeah, you can look at another woman to see if you're attracted to her. You're not attracted to her, whether she's virgin, she's not a virgin, right? You can but only for the intent of getting married. There is no prohibition in doing so. On the contrary, it's proper to do so, to do this. One should not, however, look in a lascivious manner. So look to see if she gives you pleasure, but not that, you're thinking of her in a lascivious manner. Behold, as it states, I establish my covenant with my eyes. I would not gaze at a maiden. It is permitted for a person to gaze at his wife when she's in a nida state, although she's an erva at that time. Erva means a forbidden relationship. A man is forbidden to his wife when she's in nida, when she's in the menstrual cycle. So you might think, oh, you can't gaze at her. No, at your wife you could. Although it is hard to derive satisfaction from seeing her, since she will be permitted to him afterwards, he will not suffer a lapse. He should not, however, share mirth with her or act frivolously with her, lest this lead to sin, meaning that they'll have intimate relations at a time that they're not allowed to have intimate relations. Look at the nuance over here. This is just remarkable. Remarkable. Is it, especially in the summer? Yeah, summertime. This is this, this is training to look at when you see a woman that's not dressed modestly, and when you're walking in the streets, and to look away, not look that way. There's no question that there's a desire that a person has, right? That a man has. That is, except for the righteous, they don't, by the way, not at all. Can you imagine? Like not an iota of a desire. That's why they're righteous, right? But everybody else, including a Bainani, has that drive. The Bainani will just not entertain it, for a moment. A thought would come in, gone, right? Walking down the street and seeing something not modest, does not look at all, would not, and we're all capable of that, by the way. Believe it or not, we're capable. It's just work. You got to work on yourself, huh? That's called Yiras Shamayim, by the way, the fear of God, right? Meaning not the fear of punishment, the fear of God's presence. If God is real and He's present, then the presence of an immodest woman will not overpower you. Again, just to gaze, we're talking about, right? Just for that, you won't be overpowered. Again, we shouldn't look at this as all or nothing, but we should look at every moment as all or nothing. Now, life is not all or nothing, but every moment is all or nothing, right? And as in that moment, give it your all, and don't let let nothing control you. You blew it that moment. Okay, that moment you blew it. Life isn't all or nothing. It's because you get the next moment that you could succeed, right? But if we look at every moment at all or nothing, then we're more likely we'll succeed. Which ties in with what we spoke about in Chumash. Chumash was you've sinned one sin, it's like you've sinned all the sins, right? So, it is forbidden for a man to have any woman, whether a minor or an adult, whether a servant or a freed woman, perform personal tasks for him, lest he come to lewd thoughts. Which tasks are referred to? Washing his face, his hands, his feet, spreading his bed in his presence. You shouldn't have. You shouldn't have.
Only by his wife.
You should not in your presence have your maid, the woman that's working in your house, let's say, she cleans your home. In your presence of the man, she should not make your bed and pouring him a cup. And she should not pour you a cup in front of you. Because that, believe it or not, a wife should do that for her husband. You know why? Because that creates love. And therefore, another woman shouldn't do that for you, because you should not be creating love through just pouring a cup and play. But that's when you place it directly in front of the person, right? Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, today we are so coarse that a woman doesn't understand that to just pour your husband a cup of water and place it in front of her, that's an act of love. Women don't get that. You pour your own cup. What do you think? I'm your servant? Oh, what a missed opportunity. But that's how coarse we are today. But that's the sensitivity we should have, that when your wife does it, that it's endearing, right? It's endearing. And therefore that's why another woman should not be doing it for you. A man should not send greetings to a woman at all, not even via messenger. I don't know what that means exactly, because it's permitted to inquire concerning a woman's welfare, because that's menschlich. How is your wife doing? Right? That's what it means. So you're asking about the welfare of someone, that is permitted. When a man embraces or kisses any of the women forbidden to him as an arise, despite the fact that his heart does not disturb him concerning the matter, meaning his adult sister, his mother's sister, or the like, it's shameful. It is forbidden and a foolish conduct. This applies even if he has no desire or pleasure at all. For one should not show closeness to a woman forbidden as an erv at all, whether adult or a minor, except for a woman to her son and a father to his daughter. And that includes granddaughter too, right? So in other words, to your daughter, you could, even if she's older, right? And to your granddaughter, you could, right?
Unacceptable for a man to seek with a woman, even in our family. Contemporarily.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about showing affection. What's sleeping? What are you talking about? Show closeness. What are you talking about?
I'm not sure I understand. Are they saying that you should not kiss your adult sister or your aunt or? I'm not sure I understand the.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. So there's different when it comes to uh this is what the Rambam says. I think there's some I think there might be some other opinion about an aunt and an adult sister. That might be, there could be, but barring those two, that there might be some other opinion on that. Rambam is clearly saying what he said, right? Um, the Rambam, yeah, clearly saying that. But certainly it's not an issue with your daughter and with your granddaughter.
Oh, she's not sure.
No, no, even if she is mature.
Okay.
That if she's not mature, that's not a novelty. So look, it goes even further. What is implied? A father is permitted to embrace his daughter, kiss her, and sleep with her with their bodies touching. And I'm allowed to do the same with the son as long as they are young, right? When they grow and become mature and the girl's body become developed, they should not be sleeping. They should be each sleep in clothing. You have to understand back in the day, well, first of all, this is giving a parameter of halacha. Back in the day, people lived with 6 children in one room. They lived in one room, right? So and yeah, and then and what if you had a bunch of daughters? You didn't have sons. What are you going to do? Right. So this is what it's talking about in such a situation. Right? In our world, we don't have that. But again, it's giving the parameters. If the daughter is embarrassed to stand before her father naked, or she's married, and somebody of the mother was embarrassed to stand before her son naked, even the children are minors. When one reaches the point when one is ashamed of being naked in their presence, they should sleep together only when clothed. Right? Again, why? Because you're talking about back in a time if you live 6 children in one room, you know, and that room have to be also the dining room and the kitchen. So, you didn't have where to go. So then what did you do? So these are the laws. Lesbian relationships are forbidden. This is the conduct of Egypt, which we were warned against. Do not follow the conduct of Egypt. As you say, what would they do? A man would marry a man, a woman would marry a woman would marry 2 men. Although this conduct forbidden, lashes are not given for it, for it's not specified prohibition. Lesbians not. Homosexuality of a man is, the Torah does say, right? Are not given, for it is not specified prohibition, and there's no intercourse at all. Therefore, such women are not forbidden to marry into the priesthood as Zainais, nor does a woman become prohibited to her husband because of this. But this is not considered a harlotry. Um, uh, a harlot is a harlot. A zaina is a category of a woman that makes her. Well, that's what we learned that yesterday in not one of the classes. Actually, is a category that makes you not able to marry a kohen, for example, because you had relations with, as a single woman, you had, let's say, relations with people who you illicit relations, illicit relations, and makes it so that you can't have, you can't marry a kohen, for example. If she had an illicit relation, what that defines is, you know, that would be yes. It is, however, appropriate to give them stripes for rebellious conduct because they performed the transgression. A man should take precautions with his wife to regard to the matter, should prevent women who are known to engage in such practices from visiting her and from visiting them. Okay. I have to stop here, unfortunately.
Very exciting.
Thank you,
Rabbi.
Rabbi.
God bless
God bless
everybody.
you all.
Thank you. Good
Thank
Shabbos.
you.